Thank you for joining us and welcome to Market Movers on a beautiful day today. And we are excited because we'll be looking at a sector of the economy that is moving the market, and that is the real estate sector. Now, you will understand that private capital investment in Africa fell to a fifth, to about 5.9 billion, according to a report by African Private Equity and Venture Capital Association. Now, that drop-off was largely led by a fall in venture capital deals as the continent battled with economic headwinds and inflation, rising inflation rates. Now, counting just 450 transactions in 2023 versus 627 in 2022. Now, in the real estate sector, which plays a crucial role in Nigeria's economic landscape, as of the second quarter of 2023, it grew by about 2%, specifically 1.8% compared to 2022. Now, this growth reflects increased investment interest and confidence, even amidst inflation and currency devaluation. The real estate contributes significantly to Nigerians' GDP, providing housing, commercial spaces, and infrastructure. Now, as Nigeria's population continues to grow, the demand for housing, office building, and retail spaces remains robust, and investors recognize the long-term potential, making real estate a vital driver of economic activity. Now, in all this, there are still issues about trust, issues about quackery, among others, that seem to threaten the sector. These and more issues that we'll be discussing in the program, and I have individuals and institutions that are moving the market that are here to share their expertise about the trends and what is being done to ensure that the real estate sector continues to grow and continues to contribute to Nigerians' GDP. We'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back to Market Movers. Like I told you earlier, we have individuals that are moving the market in the real estate sector that are here to share with us their experiences and the trends in the real estate sector. And I have with me live here in the studio ESV, Estate Surveyor Usilama. Usilama is the Managing Director, Noel Usilama Group of Companies. You are welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much. Thank you, viewers, for having me.
I also have with us, joining us from Lagos, Dr. Mabel Mogbolu. Dr. Mabel Mogbolu is the Managing Director, Eagle Heights Group of Companies. You are welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. So let's begin by asking, let me begin with you, Sam. What is the trend? What are the current trends in the real estate industry today? Now, from the introduction I just gave, the real estate industry experienced about 2% growth, last year, and that growth is projected to continue to grow this year. But we are also saying that there are, issues that needs to be addressed. But before we go to the issue that needs to be addressed, what do you see currently in the industry that is captivating investors in terms of the trends that are currently in the real estate sector?
The reason for the continuous attraction is because there are a lot of publicity about the advantage of pushing your money into real estate when there's inflation.
Yes.
So that awareness is the reason why a lot of people are getting interested in saving their monies in real estate, because it seems to be the only options they have. Because of so many things that have been happening in the economy in terms of the exchange rate and all that. So that's one of the major attractions. So people are trying to secure their money first.
So let me come to you now, Dr. Mabel. What is the key attraction, like ESV Usilama is talking about people being aware that in terms or during the times of inflation, the most appropriate investment option is in the real estate? What type of investment are you seeing in terms of the types of building? Is it more into the luxury types of building or more into apartments? What is that specific trend that investors are putting their money into?
I think most, especially the investors, are interested in affordable housings because the housing deficit in Nigeria needs to be addressed. So when more companies will come up with to develop affordable houses, that also gets investors attracted because getting market is ready for investors that are investing on affordable housing. Luxury home is okay, but most especially the affordable area is the one that have a lot of markets for investors to get there.
ESV, Dr. Mabel is talking about affordable housing as um, that trend, the key trend that is in attracting investors. But how does that impact developers? Because I don't know if developers are a bit more in tune or a bit more interested in building affordable houses as we have it in Nigeria. Because if developers are interested in building affordable houses in Nigeria, then we shouldn't be having the huge housing deficit that we currently have in Nigeria.
Okay, let me first of all welcome my friend, Dr. Mebe Magbolu. So good to see you again, this time around on set. When we want to talk about the trend in Nigeria, there are so many factors we need to consider.
Okay.
But because of this discussion, let me just say that affordability is relative. Because it is relative, what is affordable to me may not be affordable to you because of your money, your capacity. Looking at it from the market, it is true that the majority of the population, like in Nigerian market, will prefer affordable properties because that's what they can afford. But the truth is that what drives the market is luxury.
Okay.
Yeah, it's luxury. It's luxury real estate.
Luxury.
I'm an advocate of affordable housing.
Okay.
But what drives the market is luxury.
It's luxury.
Yeah, it's not affordable housing.
Not affordable housing.
Yeah.
So
you have a very huge market for affordable housing, but that's not what drives the market. It's luxury that drives the market.
So you are saying that investors, because if we are currently having investors being attracted to the Nigerian real estate sector, and you are saying that it is luxury that attracts the investors.
True.
I think I have to agree with you because, like I was trying to mention, we still have huge housing deficit, and we can see that the real estate sector is growing. So if it is growing, there are supposed to be affordable houses, in contemporary terms, but we don't have it in that manner. Dr. Mabel, what do you think about that? How can we reconcile the fact that the real estate sector is growing, but yet we still have huge housing deficit?
Okay. So, like Dr. Silama said, you see, he put it right that what is affordable to you might not be affordable to me. Some people will prefer to stay in Abuja, some people will prefer to stay at Lakwe. Some people, a friend told me that they can't live outside VI or Ikoyi. So, when he's looking for something affordable, he must look at something at Ikoyi or Victoria Island. So it depends on another person that is looking for something affordable in Abuja or Lakwe. I'm using Lagos as an example.
Yeah.
So I think what is best is everybody in real estate, all the developers cannot do the affordable houses. Everybody cannot do luxury. So, but what is more important is that everybody should work towards how to build more houses, those that are affordable to each levels of people in Nigeria. You talk about the middle class, the lower class, and all that. So whatever angle that somebody is working on should be something that people can actually get.
Thank you very much. Now, one of the key objectives of this session, of this sector spotlight that we're having on real estate, is to see how we can maintain, how Nigerians real estate sector can maintain the growth trajectory that they are currently experiencing, knowing that, like the report we just cited in our introduction, that venture capital investment, is falling. There is lower transactions that are happening, within that space. And so how can Nigeria sustain the growth that they are currently enjoying in the real estate sector? Now, one of the key things that drives investors is accountability. How has been, because I quite agree that the different categories of the market will require different investment approach, or different investors to be able to tackle the different challenges in the different market categories. Of course, we can't take away the place of government as well in terms of trying to intervene in ensuring that there is a policy that will drive affordable housing. But we are not going there yet. I'm interested in how we can maintain the growth trajectory for the real estate sector. So, and one of the things we know is that accountability is what sustains investors' appetite for investment. How is the real estate sector in Nigeria? How are developers being able to manage that issue of accountability? Let me come to you, ESV Osilama.
How they are able to manage it, or how they will be able to manage it? How do they want to manage it?
Yes.
There are two different questions.
Okay.
So let me start with how they are able to manage it.
Yes.
Real estate developers, if they know what they are doing, they are supposed to decentralize roles in their establishment. When they decentralize roles, that means each professionals are given their responsibility. So you get like a project manager, for instance, to manage the entire affair, where an accountant, a trained accountant, is held in the accounting department. When you decentralize roles, you are not the alpha and omega. You are not the one dictating. You are managing your accounts. You are managing the projects on site. You are managing marketing and all that. And so the things become clumsy, and there are issues. For you to be able to be accountable, everything needs to be separated.
Okay.
Once it is properly separated, then there will be accountability, because you can easily see the loopholes and correct them.
Dr. Bibel, what's your opinion?
Yes, I'm of same opinion, because once a company is operating with the proper structure, where you have everybody that is doing one thing, you diversification, everybody is running their roles correctly, accountability will not be a problem. But when one person is doing everything, that is just a mushroom company. But a company that wants investors, that want to give proper accounts of whatever investors invest in their account, must have all the departments functional, and every of their transactions should be detailed. So structure is important.
Wonderful.
Proper structure is important for.
Yeah. So yeah, I think all of us can agree that structure is important. But we have also a situation where we have seen that some developers have been accused, whether rightly or wrongly. But we have had experience where developers have been accused of not being able to deliver, what they have promised to their clients or to their customers. So what is the reason? What do you think is the reason for these developers not being able to deliver their promises to their customers? Mabel?
I think I can answer that very because I still have same experience. Look, in Nigeria, people are not faithful to their promises. Most of those people that quickly to rush online to drag developers that they did not deliver and all that, most of these people agree to pay on installments, right? So when they start paying on, some of them can default for 3 months, some of them can default for 4 months. But as soon as, and that developer will be struggling because you are not getting enough funds from bank or financial institute to help you continue with your project. The payment is not properly done, and once they finish their payment and the developer has not been able to finish as agreed, let's assume we agree for 18 months, and somebody defaulted for 3 months, it is not paid. The person is there, developer, to deliver that same 18 months that was initially agreed. So how will the developer get the money? If I should tell you our amount that is outside, we should be shocked. But some of those people too will still go out there and start talking that you did not deliver. Why they defaulted, and the developer was also trying to manage to see how you can continue with the project.
Okay. Now let me come to you, ESV Osilama. I know you are currently the National Vice President for Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria. Am I correct, sir? Yeah.
Exactly.
So can you speak to this matter? Because I understand that, you know, maybe has agreed that there are a lot of issues like that in the real estate space where developers have failed to meet with their projections or meet with their clients' demands. What is Redan doing, you know, to stem this tide?
Well, this is a very complicated aspect of real estate transaction, because the truth be told, some developers are fraudulent.
Okay.
Well, let's not take that out. Not everybody. Then most of because of the access to land,
Yes.
the raw material for the business, real estate business is land. Access to land is very difficult. So most developers innocently go into transaction, joint venture transaction, without thoroughly tying the knots in terms of the agreement and all that. So this aspect she mentioned, that Dr. Mibe mentioned, is just one of the several factors that used to cause problem. So that aspect she mentioned is exactly the way she said it. Most subscribers, they default, and at the end of the day, they still want to get what they want, what they agreed, but it's not exactly, it won't be exactly the same time, because the duration they have paid in the course of trying to pay, they fade. So because they fade, that delayed the delivery. And because he delayed the delivery, but they want the developer to keep to the time, the agreed time, and they now start having problem. But beyond that, you have other transactions where the developer enter into a joint venture partnership with maybe a landowner, and the landowner is fraudulent. So in the course of initiating the transaction, the landowner introduced some crafty, some criminal clauses into the transaction. So by the time there's a delay somewhere, you just see the person coming all out for you and pulling the carpet off your feet. And the next thing, the developer becomes a criminal to the world. You'll be struggling to defend yourself. So this it's complicated. That's why I said it's so many reasons why a developer can suddenly become a criminal. Yes, or default a defaulted.
The hunter becomes a hunted.
Yes. So the solution, what Redan is trying to do, is that we create we want to create a department, a committee, disciplinary committee. The committee will receive complaints, look at these complaints, and try to provide solution. Like when I was the chairman of Redan FCT, I set up a committee like this, and we had so many complaints. So we partnered with DSS, the Directorate of State Security in the FCT. And when they get petitions, because people write them directly because they want to deal with the developer. So the first thing the person is thinking, let me take him to DSS so that they can arrest him and deal with him like a criminal. DSS will call us and we discuss, call this developer, and before you know what is happening, this developer is even innocent. You understand?
Yeah.
He's innocent, but he's caught in between the web because he's the one that is collecting money and he's the one that is investing. So that's the problem. It's complicated. But the major source of the problem is the land.
Yes.
The access to land is the major source of the problem.
I want to hold you on this because it's a critical issue.
Very critical.
For the clients and for the investors, even for the developers. Do you think Redan has done enough, or do you think there is a room for a policy by the government, or a room for stakeholders to have like a rule of engagement, in this sector going forward?
Sincerely, Redan has done enough, and Redan is still working. Let me just expand more. It's not everything that is meant for the public,
exactly.
But I will just say some things. The past administration, for instance, proposed a bill to the National Assembly. That bill was supposed to help to correct all these things. But in the bill, there are some other loopholes. So some of the professional bodies had issues with the bill. The bill was passed by the lower house and even the upper arm of the National Assembly, sent to the president for assent, but it was not signed. As in, it's still with the president, Tinubu. It was passed during Buhari tenure and sent to Tinubu again, but it has not been assented, and it may not be assented now, except it is taken back for review because of
the National Assembly.
Yes, because of other complaints from other bodies. That bill, there was the association partnered with NFIU, EFCC, and so many other bodies. Like I said to you initially, some developers are fraudulent. That means some people who go into Ponzi scheme, they suddenly see real estate as an avenue where they can, the same platform where they can come and do the same thing and take away money and run away, or even just change business. Some of us that have been around for long, we don't want such things around.
Yeah.
Because we have been here and we want to remain here. some people don't want to remain. They just want to take money. Maybe they're able to put 1 billion together. They run away.
Yeah.
And we have been here. We just want to be growing gradually.
So let me go to Dr. Mabel. You heard what Usilama is saying. You are in Lagos, and the Lagos real estate market seems to be more complicated than Abuja. I don't know if Usilama will agree with me on that.
I'm there now. I'm in Lagos.
So you are in Lagos too. So
I understand.
Wonderful. so can you speak to this issue? How do you think that we can really address and sanitize, the real estate market? Because it's a huge. If you look at China grew as a result of the expansion of the real estate sector. But today, the real estate sector is also trying to bring China's economy down. So if we don't have a control, a systemic or strategic control of how our real estate sector is growing, and ensure that we sanitize the system before it crumbles on our head, then there could be a problem tomorrow.
Serious problem.
So what is your experience in Lagos?
Okay. First of all, I want to say that I think government needs a total overhauling of the real estate industry. And registering a real estate company should have some measure that people should go through before you can call them a developer or a real estate company. Not plenty more. Somebody will just go one corner and buy one plot of land and say is a developer. And they will sell today, tomorrow they auction. So many of them, they've all auction. So Red and 2 should be able to put some measures into this. Because so many things that are happening, village is happening, it makes people to see all developers as frauds. And so many things flying on social media because there is no measure. So I think government should check in that bill that Dr. Silama just said, they should be able to put that there are some criteria, like the way they did bank. You should have so and so amount before you be able to register as a developer. So once all those control measures are in place, it will reduce most of these bad names that we are calling and the fraudulent act that is flying up and down.
Yeah.
So many things are happening. I won't deny that. So many things are happening behind us. But government and radar need to put themselves together and see how that can be sorted out.
Yeah, so I think we all are in agreement with that there needs to be a partnership between Redan and the government. But again, ESV Silama, the issue is that some of these developers, not that they set out to be fraudulent, if not for anything, I think one of the challenges that they also have, like you pointed out, some clients, all right, when they have agreement with these developers, they don't also meet up. Now that means that a developer will need to access a different source of funding to be able to progress. Because if you look at the consumer purchasing index in Nigeria, you discover that the purchasing power for consumers is gradually going down day by day. And so you have a customer or a client or an investor that has agreed with you, okay, I'm going to do 1 million, 2 million every month, and his purchasing power continues to decrease. He's not going to be able to meet up. However, not that he's no longer interested in the project. And so the developer needs to also have this understanding and be able to have a way of assessing outside funding from the pool of the customer that he's expecting funding for. So what is being done? We understand there is what is called real estate investment trust. What other financing measures do you think real estate developers can have access to?
We did not exhaust the question you asked before. Now
okay.
We'll jump to another one.
Okay, so let's speak to it and come to this.
Because like Dr. Mibe said, government and Redan need to partner.
Yes.
The partnership, real estate is self-regulatory across the world. That is why what you said about China is happening in China. Self-regulated, you understand? So in Nigeria, the Redan has been able to come up with a bill. And we have a new president in Redan. And the new president, Barrister Akintoye Adeoye, is doing everything within his power to see how he can work on that bill again and represent that bill so that bill will be accepted by all stakeholders. Right now, he's working with every stakeholder. That period, the last one, some of the stakeholders are the people who did not agree with some of the things in the bill, some of the clauses. Right now, he's working with all the stakeholders so that the bill will be a thorough bill That is, as a real estate practitioner, you don't necessarily need to be a professional.
Okay.
When you talk about quackery, you need to be properly defined.
Okay.
What you need is the ability to recruit professionals. So anybody can be a real estate developer if you are able to recruit professional. Recruit an architect, recruit a project manager, recruit an engineer, all of them together. You're able to supervise them and control them under the company. Then you are a real estate developer. You're a business person.
So we're going to come back to these issues. You just try to highlight the issue of quackery, and you try to disagree with me that there are quackery in the real estate industry.
I didn't say no.
Okay.
I'm just trying to balance it.
Okay, so fine. We're going to balance those issues and the issues about how can real estate developers access alternative funding.
Let me go back to that.
We're going to come back to that after this short break.
Okay.
So just stay with us. We'll come back after this short break. Or staying with us on Market Movers. It's been a wonderful conversation with ESV Osilama, the managing director of Noel Osilama Group of Companies. And from Lagos is Dr. Mabel Mogbolu, the managing director of Ego Heights Group of Companies. Now, let's continue with where we stopped before we went on this short break. ESV Osilama. We're talking about, we'll come back to the quackery, all right?
Yes.
But let's focus first on how can, alternative funding source for real estate developers.
If you look at the environment where we are doing the business, the only alternative funding that's available is OPM, other people's money. Apart from bank funding, because commercial banks don't fund real estate, and the Federal Mortgage Bank that was established for real estate, they have suspended the EDL loan, which is called the Estate Development Loan. So that's not available now. The only money that you can get from Federal Mortgage Bank right now for real estate development is cooperative loan.
Okay.
And that means a cooperative has to come together under the umbrella of a developer.
Which still the OPM model?
It's not, it's still OPM, exactly. But now it will be funded by a Federal Mortgage Bank.
Okay.
That means they will appoint a developer, then the Federal Mortgage Bank will give the developer the money. And the maximum threshold they give is 500 million, no more than 500 million.
That's for the Federal Mortgage Bank?
Yes. So there's no money in the industry.
No major alternative source of...
And the real estate itself is capital intensive. You can't run the real estate business without money. So you have to look for money. So that's why people do OPM. And that's why what she was saying initially, what Doctor was saying initially, that's why it has to happen. That's why it's happening. Because you have to raise the money from the market. You come up with a template where you sell off plan. That's the situation now. You sell off plan, you structure your payment plan, and you're already building. But as you're building, you're selling. That's the OPM. As you're building, you're selling. And as you're selling, people are paying. And when somebody buy a property from you for like 20 million, and he has maybe a 12-month payment plan, he pays the initial 20%, and he's unable to pay others, then there will be issue. There will be problem. And that's the reason why
the issues are all in the industry. So,
yes.
Dr. Mabel, what do you say about this alternative source of funding, and what has been your experience as a developer, and what do you think is going to be the best solution going forward?
Well, the same thing that Dr. Silama just said about other people's money. That is what we've been using. That is the only solution. So, if the economy improves and people are not keeping to their word, that is, the clients are paying up accordingly, I'm sure that everything will be okay. Or government open from the banks an avenue where we can take loan once they see what you are working on, and they can give us loan to develop. For now, I think that is the only option that is available. Other people's money.
ESV, you said you have a solution. What is that solution?
Government need to create an enabling environment. What I mean by creating an enabling environment is that government need to look at land registration and administration in Nigeria. Because if you don't have a document covering, a legitimate document covering your project,
of land,
your project, for your project that you have decided to do. If it's not bankable, you will not be able to access funding. If it is bankable, you'll be able to access funding for the project. You understand? Because by the time they do the cost analysis and all that, you can present it to a bank and you can get bridging loan. That means they may not be able to fund the project in $1 billion, but they can be giving you maybe 100 million for every 3 months. You understand? That means government need to do something about land registration system. The system is pitiable, is terrible, is very dirty. Government must look at digitalizing the land registration system. That means every single land in Nigeria, including old houses, they must be registered. They must become bankable. It is doable and it is possible. And except government look at this and try to review the Land Use Act. Now there's a big problem. The Land Use Act is tied to the Constitution. That means it's a constitutional document because after it was enacted, passed to law, signed, gazetted, you understand, it became part and parcel of the Constitution. So it must be separated. I have never seen anywhere in the world where a document that is flexible, that is driven by market forces, is tied to the Constitution. Constitution is too rigid to have the Land Use Act in it, so it must be separated from the Constitution and reviewed properly so that it can allow. Because if you look at the provision in the Land Use Act, it created all this problem because it was designed for government and government alone, not for business. Right now, businesses are taking over the economy. You understand?
Yeah.
So government need to look at this and allow for the review of that act. Once the act is reviewed and every single land in Nigeria can be registered, you will see a new day in Nigeria in the real estate sector.
I think that is something that is very, very wonderful if the government can have a hold around that, because what we currently have is a situation where even land acquisition, like you try to point out, is somehow a hectic problem for a lot of developers.
It's even impossible for
on top of the land acquisition challenges, you also have approval, regulatory approval for your project designs and other approval that you need to be able to move to site as and when necessary. Dr. Mabel, what do you think should happen if we must have the real estate sector continue to grow in over 2% that you experienced last year and coming into this year? What should happen in terms of land acquisition and regulatory approvals?
I think government should, like the doctor says, they should make it a bit flexible, release some of these powers, because the powers that involve in getting documents is so hectic. It's so that if, as a developer, it just to get a building approval is just like going through hell. So all these things are supposed to be like this. So I think we should be able to see a way they can reduce these powers from government and make it business friendly, because it's not business friendly at all. Getting a location, especially in this Lagos, is something else. I don't know about Abuja much, but Lagos is something else. They need to reduce the authority given to the government on this land acquisition process.
I was thinking that Lagos is doing so much in terms of digitalizing the land acquisition process, approval processes and all that. But from what Dr. Mabel is saying, can you give us, because you are in Lagos and Abuja, and of course as the National Vice President of REDAN, what do you think is happening between Lagos and Abuja? Which of these states that is a bit more into trying to improve the land acquisition and regulatory approval processes?
Well, when you use the word acquisition, it's a little bit complicated.
Okay.
Yes, in this context. Now, Lagos is going digital. Abuja has always been digital.
Okay.
So that means there's a reduction. There will be a reduction in terms of corruption and all that when it has to do with land. But it has to be national. It has to be national, nationwide. It shouldn't be only Lagos. It shouldn't be only Abuja. Then. That's one, but land allocation is different from acquisition. Okay, that's why I said that word they are choosing to use. So land allocation is what will make
so what is the difference between acquisition and allocation?
Acquisition meaning if I buy a property anywhere from a family, it's not in the registry. I will sign a document with them, then I can go through the process of normalizing and legitimizing my land. Okay. But allocation means I apply for a land to the government's office, and I'm giving the land. Okay. What government does is that they give land to speculators, land speculators. You understand? These land speculators are criminals. When government give land to a land speculator, the entire money invested in getting that land, if it's Abuja for instance, like 20 million. In Lagos, maybe within the range of maybe 1 billion. If it's in the Ikoyi Lekki area, 1 billion, maybe it's like 10 acres or 20 acres in Ikoyi. Abuja, maybe like 10 acres or 2 acres. Then that land that somebody invested 20 million to get in Abuja, he'll put it in the market for 1 billion. The same week, 1 billion, 2 billion. The same week in Lagos, the one that maybe somebody, a speculator, invested like 1 billion to get or 500 million to get, he will put it in the market the same week for 10 billion. This is the problem. You understand? The lands are not being given to the people who are in the industry. That is, they are not given to the right people. They give them to speculators. Somebody that doesn't even know how to read and write, he will be the owner of a land. Or even if he does, he is getting it because he knows somebody in power. You understand? It's not given. The land allocation should be given to the people who need the land. That is the estate developers who are supposed to use this land. That's the only way we can experience affordable housing in Nigeria. Without that, the deficit will continue to increase. Right now, we don't even know again, except we do a census. 17 million or 20 million is no longer feasible. It's
not feasible.
We have hit like 50 million, but everybody is afraid to say it. Because for every 10 persons you see now, one, he doesn't even have a home.
Yeah.
You understand? He's renting, and he's unable to pay his rent. So he must have hit like 15 million. So government needs to come back, sit down and look at that land use act and look at land allocation system and work on it. Land acquisition is a normal thing. That's why I started by saying the land administration and registration process is something government must address.
What are you seeing currently? Do you think there is a movement in that regard, or is redone? Because
there's a movement. Okay. There's a movement. I don't know if it's holistic, because the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, they set up a committee presently that are looking at suggesting a solution to government. They are working, and it's headed by Reverend Ugochukwu Chime. He's a surveyor.
Okay.
He's a surveyor and the former president of Redan. And I'm very close to him, so I'm sure he's going to do a thorough job. Okay. But I don't know if that job is going to be, the report is going to be given to federal government because it's a federal ministry, or it's just within the ministry they are going to use that to maybe assess their own land, because Federal Ministry of Works and Housing own all the FHA nationwide.
Okay.
You understand? Federal Housing Authority, anywhere you see FHA belongs to them. That's their own development. But under normal circumstances, government is not supposed to go into providing houses except the social housing. If it is normal construction like real estate developers do, government should stay out of building. They should provide an enabling environment for people who are doing this business to do it well, rather than complicating issues for developers.
So before we go to, because there is one other issue we talked about earlier on, which is the issue of quackery, but before we go to that aspect, what can you recommend for, because I know you just pointed out as out of 1 in 10 Nigerians possibly are still living on rent or are still squatting, they don't own their own property. So what is the best solution? Let me go to Mabel in Lagos before I come back to you. What is the best solution for an average Nigerian that does not own a house currently to be able to own a house?
Very, very, that is going to be very, very difficult because most of them are not working. Some of them don't have other means of livelihood. So if you said that you start having a house, how are we going to help them? Even to pay for rent, they can't do that. In this area where I stay, there are some area you will go, there is people living in those shanty houses, you will feel like crying. For most of these people, the government know about them. So how will government help them? Even if you want to give them, let's say government will come up with a program for social housing. These people are not even in the record of Nigeria because some of them don't have anything to record. So the matter is very complicated. To me, it is going to be a very difficult task for we to be able to solve that right now.
So
let them put something in places, and as we're growing, those solutions and ideas of how to integrate such people into the society properly will come up.
So to Dr. Mabel, it's a difficult situation. What about you? Is it also a difficult situation?
Well, providing houses for every Nigerian is definitely a difficult. It's a Herculean task, but it is possible.
Okay.
It is possible. It can be reduced. If government come up with a policy that will create an enabling environment, it's a process. You can't achieve everything in one day. But if government can be sincere and come up with a policy that will create an enabling environment. For instance, what I've just said, if we don't work on our land registry and administration system, administration system and land registry system, we will continue to wallow and be rotating within a circle. It must be addressed. After addressing that, government must create an enabling environment where land allocation should be for people who want to use land. You cannot say you are giving out land for mass housing, for instance, for somebody to build like 50 houses or 1,000 houses, and the person you are giving the land to doesn't know anything about construction, has never done construction before. It's not as if government is not trying at all. There are some measures that have been put in place. You can't register a real estate company now in Nigeria if you are not a member of REDAN and if you have not done training. You can't even open a real estate account if you are not a member of REDAN. You can't go and register with SCUMO if you are not a member. So REDAN has been able to partner with government to achieve a lot, just to check some things. But it's not perfect. It's not yet uhuru. It's not perfect because you know how our environment operates. People still look for a way to get away with some things. So government need to be decisive and need to be ready to do these things. There's no need to play around it. Real estate is what drives economy across the globe. If you are not ready to take it serious, we'll continue to wallow like this. Once you take it serious, it will boost the economy, it will create jobs, and it will make everything look like this government is working.
I want to put you on the spot. I'm sorry to do that.
Please go ahead.
As the the national vice president of REDAN, you continue to hammer on the need for government to do the needful. Can you pinpoint a particular government agency parastatal that we can look in the eyes and say you have not been able to do enough? In trying to solve this land administration and all these challenges that we're having in the real estate sector.
Government agency. Sincerely, this bill is supposed to be a bill of National Assembly. It has to be an executive bill.
Okay.
So even if it is sponsored by an individual, it has to be an executive bill. So it is the presidency.
It is the presidency.
It is the presidency. Because even if you have somebody in the National Assembly who is patriotic enough to come up with a bill, the presidency have to agree to the bill. For instance, the REDAN bill. If the presidency believed in that bill, they would have signed it to law. Has
REDAN been able to engage with the presidency?
You know Nigerian politics. Even if you are standing with the president, they may not allow you to talk to him if they know that you are coming to see him because of the bill. So that's the problem. REDAN has engaged the presidency through the Minister for Housing, Works and Housing, and I think REDAN has gotten a very good nod. The minister is ready to work with REDAN to see that this bill is passed into law, but the bill has to be reviewed. That means we are going to start all over again. It is possible we are going to do that. You understand? But that's a step. Except government is ready, the body language should show that government wants to do it, and everybody will be ready to work. You understand?
Yeah. So I think perhaps we need to also say that REDAN needs to step up their game, because this administration is going to 2 years anniversary now, if I'm not mistaken. And so if you had passed, you have sent a bill before May 29 last year, and we have a new president, a new administration. I know how important that bill is. I think by now you should be making steps to, take that bill back to the presidency or back to the National Assembly for review.
Well, I mentioned that before. Let me just make it very straight that REDAN have a new government in place too.
Oh, they also have a new government in place now.
Leadership, and with the election was just in February. That's
about a month ago.
A month ago. So that's even when me too became a vice president. Before then, I was just a FCT chairman. Okay. So the new president, I said it before, is already working with all the stakeholders to see how they can maybe review the bill, touch all those areas that people are complaining about, and make it a holistic thing that everybody is proud of, and they take it back to the presidency. Then everybody will accept it, and it will be signed to law. And when that bill is signed to law, a lot of things will change.
So let's talk about the quackery now, because before now we have always witnessed a lot of properties that are not well constructed, properties that collapsed, collapsed building and all that. Those are, in our own thinking, are works of quackery. If you do a project, and under 1 year, some are even under construction and they collapsed. So what is being done? Let me go to Lagos, Dr. Mabel. In Lagos, we have witnessed series of collapsed building, major properties that collapsed. What is being done to see that this type of building collapse don't happen again, at least in the nearest future?
Okay. I think Lagos state government is doing a whole lot to punish most of those people that go against the rule of engagement. Also, the government have to do more concerning their people that gives approval, because if we check some of the approvals that they release, you'll be wondering how come they approve such building in so and so place. And government is also supposed to have people that go out to inspect, to check, especially when the foundations are going on. You can't give approval for two-story building and somebody is building four-story in that place. So it's not good. Those are the things that are causing most of those collapse building. And also to developers, greed. The greed is too much. You got approval for a five-story building, because you are selling off land, and within few periods you see that you've sold out, you want to add more, and they will just go to the government, like the agency, and bribe people, and they just maneuver things. It is not good. So when proper ethics, professional ethics is in place, it will reduce all these things. But I believe that Lagos state government has been doing a whole lot to stop all that. I attended some of the trainings they did to curb those problems, and they are doing a whole lot. But humanly, we should reduce greed. Developers will reduce those greeds that are causing all those issues.
All right. So let me come to ESV Silama. What needs to be done, and what is Redan doing to tackle this menace of collapse building in the sector?
It's beyond Redan. What needs to be done? Redan will try, but what needs to be done is that control measures that are already in place need to be effective. There are so many control measures in place already. If you are in Abuja, for instance, you have the development control. If you are in Lagos, you have their own department of development. So when you talk about quackery in that aspect that lead to building collapse, it means, like I said initially, if a developer is somebody who is able to recruit professionals to supervise a construction. So if the developer is in a nutshell, is just a business person, a man or woman. But if you don't have the ability to recruit, then you are not a developer now. You are a quack.
So let's as we begin to wrap up, because I've been informed that our time is fast spent.
Okay.
Let's quickly look at how to sustain investors' interest in the economy, in the real estate sector. These kind of issues don't really encourage investors. So what are the risks that investors should look out for, and how can they mitigate those risks in investing in the real estate sector in Nigeria?
The first thing I would say is that anybody that wants to invest into a real estate firm, if it's a REIT, for instance, you look at their antecedent. You look at what they have done before. You profile them. You make sure you also do your due diligence on the property they want to sell. In your due diligence, apart from the legality of the property, you also check if they have a right to build what they are building there. Then you can also ask your engineer to help you just run through the drawings. They should send you the drawing. So you look at the structural design. It will give you an idea if it's where to put your money or not. Basically, it's the legality and the team. You can check the team to see if they have professionals that are on ground to work. That will help you a lot to mitigate against putting your money in the wrong place.
All right. So, Dr. Mabel, your last word. How can are you there, Dr. Mabel?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, from your experience, what are the risks, for investors to watch out for? What are those risks that investors need to watch out for if they want to invest in the real estate sector in Nigeria? Using you as an example, as a developer and investor, what do you think are those risks that they should watch out for, and how can they mitigate those risks?
Like my senior colleague has said, you need to check the company, the antecedents, whatever they've done before, and check the professional aspects of whatever they are doing if they are qualified for it, and the promise, whatever promises that they've made to you, if what they are saying is corresponding with what is on ground. So once you have your professionals, your engineers to check all the drawings, check the property, the documentations are right, I think we are good to go.
Thank you very much. And to you, our viewers out there, we thank you for staying with us on Market Movers. We'll come back tomorrow. See you and God bless you.